Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending the Oasis Solutions Sage User Sessions. The session that you are currently in now is Tips and Tricks, Tools in Your Toolbox. My name is Lisa Brewer. I am a Senior Sage Consultant with Oasis Solutions, and I will be one of the presenters in this session today. And also joining and assisting in this session is Miss Tammy Turner, which is also a senior consultant with Oasis Solutions. Before we get started, we're going to go over the agenda. So I will start the user sessions reviewing Business Insights Explorer and Paperless Office. We will also review how to apply multiple purchase orders in receipt of goods and multiple sales orders in invoice data entry. We're also going to look at an auto check reconciliation utility utilized in BankRec. I'm going to show you how to utilize custom lookups and how to show or hide zero quantities for lot and serialized items. And then Ms. Tammy's going to join us and review Memo Manager, Positive Pay, APACH, how to utilize the recents in the 2023 version, the AP masking for 1099 information, and the new and improved invoice payment selection screen. And before we get started, we're going to go over a little housekeeping items. We will have a Q&A at the end of the session. Everyone will remain on mute throughout the session. Please utilize your Q&A for any questions. Those questions will be answered at the end of each session if time permits. Otherwise, we will address those questions offline. You can utilize your chat functionality if you have any technical difficulties, such as any audio, visual, connectivity problems, or if there's an urgent request. And then at the end of the session, we will spin the wheel for one of you to win a $25 Amazon gift card. And if you attend all of today's sessions, you are eligible to win a $100 gift card for Amazon. So I'm going to show one more slide here before we get into Sage. So we are down to the tips and tricks, tools in your toolbox session, which is what we're doing in this session. Following that session, we have a winning with Sage 100 manufacturing and distribution. Then at 11:30, did you know that Oasis is a Sage Intact partner? Then we're going to follow that up at 12 with how cloud hosting can help you survive or prevent a cyber attack. And then we're going to end the sessions at 12:30 with accelerating PCI compliant payments. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to hide. I'm going to hide my video, and we're gonna hop right into Sage here. All right. So the first thing that we're going to go over is Business Insights. So within the Business Insights module, on the right-hand side here under our tasks, we're going to be able to see all of the canned views within Sage. This is for every module. Now, if it's easier for you to find those within an actual module, when you access a module under your Explorer, those are going to show you just the views for that particular module. So the view that we're going to look at is the Vendor Open Invoices view. So once this view opens, you will notice two different panes here. So if you highlight some information in the top pane, this below pane is going to be the transactions or the detail information for the record that you have selected from the top. Towards the left-hand side of the screen here, we can choose which columns that we want to hide or see. And as you select those, you'll notice those columns start to disappear or they get added. You can sort your columns in ascending and descending order just by clicking a column header. We can group by dragging and dropping one of those column headers or multiple column headers into this top gray section. And then we've also got filters. So right now we have a filter that says we only want to see records that have a balance that's greater than 0. We can have multiple filters. And then once those filters are applied, you're able to see that information here. Once you have selected what you would like to see, you have the capability of exporting, and then you've got multiple different export options. So we can export to Excel, we can export the page, just to an email. Then we can save our setting. Once we save a setting, that setting is going to show here under where we see standard. If you save it as public, all users are able to access that same setting that you just recently saved. If you save it as private, it's private to you, unless folks have access to view private settings. So for example, this is one that I have saved. Under my balance, I created some summary footers and a group summary footer. And then once I created those footers, I selected sum, and now I have a sum by my group. And then I have a report summary. So that's just a quick overview of Explorer. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is Paperless Office. So some of you may or may not utilize that now, and you may not utilize it to the fullest. So one thing that I do want to show you is if your system is set up to print to paperless reports, you will see the option in the printer section of your reports where you can choose to print to paperless, click print, and then you've provided with a checkbox here to store that as a PDF. Once that is stored as a PDF, you will access your report viewer. And then once you double click, that is going to open in your, your determined PDF viewer. If your paperless functionality is set up to email, you can also email those reports. And then you can also, within paperless, we can see our journals and our registers. So those journals and registers are maintained in a predetermined repository on your server. But we can access this journal and register viewer, and we can then sort by company code and by module. Once you've selected a specific module, the document dropdown is module specific. So we're just going to click refresh, and then we're going to notice that only inventory transactions are going to be shown. And again, by double clicking, that transaction or that document will open in your predefined Adobe Reader. Again, we can email that document by selecting the email, and that is a specific setup. So if that's not something you have now, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you set that up. So Paperless Office can also send, we can send direct deposit stubs to your employees' individual email addresses. That can be a personal email address, and those documents are password protected. We can also send invoices, statements, any form that is customer or vendor or employee facing. We do have the capability to do that. All right, so we're going to move on to how to apply multiple sales orders in invoice data entry. So we're just going to hop right into invoice data entry, and I'm going to choose a sales order. Once I choose that sales order, there's an icon just to the right that says apply sales orders. When I select that icon, I am only presented in this screen with sales orders that meet certain criteria. Obviously, the same customer, the same ship to, the same tax schedule. With the first icon in the top right, that allows us to select all of those sales orders. And then this next icon allows us to say we're going to ship those complete. We're going to get a little prompt here that says make sure you check your freight amount. And then on our lines tab, what I've done is I've added from my secondary grid up to my main grid a sales order number. So this lets me know for which line item and sales order number this is applicable to. So this will allow us to create one invoice for all 3 of these sales orders. Same scenario in our receipt of goods entry screen. Once we have selected a purchase order, this little plus symbol, again, it's only going to populate with those purchase orders that have the same address information and sales tax schedule. It allows us to select all. It allows us to receive all of those complete or not. It's completely up to you. And then again, I have added from my secondary grid to my main grid my PO number. So I'm able to see which line item is specific to which purchase order. So this allows me to have one receipt number for each of these entries. Okay, so we're going to move on to our auto check reconciliation. This is a utility within BankRec that we receive a specific template from your banking institution that allows you to retrieve that document or that specific file from your bank at the end of every month, every day, every week, whatever makes the most sense to your process. And then we run this utility. And after we run this utility, again, with some setups, when you then access your reconciled bank for that specific bank code, anything that was in the file that the bank told us had cleared the bank will automatically select those checks or charges. So it eliminates coming in and manually checking these individually. So again, that is a setup option that we must receive some documentation from your bank. And then we're going to hop in to item maintenance, and we're going to take a look at how to create a custom lookup. So anytime you hear us say lookup, that's when you have your magnifying glass. If you have a custom lookup already, underneath your view, you will see multiple views. So this is just a standard view. And if we go to custom, we are able to create a different view. If you select this checkbox, this becomes your default view. And then columns on the right-hand side are what we're going to see. So we can double click to remove those. And then we can choose what information we would like to see. And I am just making some selections here. And then we've got some filters. So we might want to say, you know, we only want to see certain product lines. So you've got that capability. And then your listing, it defaults to item code begins with. We can change that to, you know, product line contains. And once we click finish, that becomes my new default view. So anywhere you have a lookup, you are able to create a custom lookup. Once you've created that custom lookup, you can utilize your Excel button in the bottom right, which will then export that view directly to Excel for data manipulation of whatever suits your needs there. And then you'll see that came up there in Excel for us. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is the show hide quantities. So that again is going to be in item maintenance. And this is, once again, only for lot and serialized items using the cost detail tab. So the new icon here, if we hover over it, show hide zero quantity, you'll notice that it's blue. It's outlined in blue. We've got this lot number 10210 that has zero quantity. If we select that icon, it becomes red, and then it hid that zero quantity. So that is a new feature in 2023. Okay, so thank you for your time here. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to let Miss Tammy Turner go ahead and take over.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen here. But I had Sage up. Well, thanks everybody for joining. The first feature that I'm going to talk about is Posit Pay. Positive Pay is designed for businesses that want their bank to help monitor against fraudulent check activity. The feature is found under Bank Reconciliation, Main, Positive Pay Export. Sage 100 will generate the file that lists all of the checks issued, and the file is uploaded to your bank. The bank will validate the account number, the check number, and the dollar amount of each check submitted for payment against the list of checks submitted electronically by you. So what do you need to get started? Before setting up Positive Pay in Sage 100, you must talk to your bank and ask them if they will process Positive Pay for your bank account. Ask them for the format of the Positive Pay file. Sage 100 does have a few templates available, or you can create your own. After the format is created and the bank has approved the format, you can begin using the feature in Sage 100. So you'll notice here that I have created an export setting based on a template for Wells Fargo Bank. So we're just going to show how you process the file. And you'll notice that I have an export path indicated. This is where I'm going to retrieve my file for upload to the bank. I've already created this file previously, so I'm going to use the checkbox to include checks already exported. And then you also have the option to reconcile the checks after exporting. I have a couple of selection options here to filter by bank code, a range of check numbers, check dates, or dollar amount. Then I'm just going to click print here. And it didn't generate the file. Okay. Include. Okay. Sorry, it never goes as planned. Once the file is generated, I will simply retrieve it from the path that was specified in my settings for upload to the bank. All right. So the next feature I'm going to talk about is Accounts Payable, ACH. This feature allows you to send electronic payments from your bank directly to your vendor's bank. You must obtain the file format from your bank and the bank account information from your vendor's bank. The ACH file is set up under the AP Setup ACH Maintenance. And in Vendor Maintenance, checkbox for electronic payments must be indicated. And the electronic payments banking information needs to be set up prior to payment to your vendor. During check printing and electronic payment processing, you'll have the option to choose the payment type: check, electronic payments, or both. And then during the printing process, vendors selected for electronic payments will receive a remittance advice that can be printed or emailed. There is a Memos feature in Sage. The Memos feature is the ability to create notes in Sage 100. The notes can be used and added in any of the modules in Sage. I've seen these used for things like AR collections, shipping instructions, contract details with vendors and customers. So in Memo Manager maintenance, for example, in AR, we will set up where we'd like these to appear by user. So we have 4 different types of memos here. So we've got a customer memo, and we're going to choose our role. And here is where we're going to choose where we would like that memo to auto display and in what task. Also to set the permissions on that memo for this particular role, whether they have hide, show, or maintain on that memo. I can take these settings and I can copy them easily to another role. This setup determines, again, what tasks this particular memo will pop up and for what users. So in customer maintenance, for example, if a memo is present, you'll notice a little notepad that is displayed in yellow, and the memo will pop up when you access the tab. You can add attachments to memos. Make sure that when you're adding attachments, you choose a network location. Make sure that all users have access to the attachment. So next, we'll talk about some features that are new in Sage version 2023. One of those is the Recent tab added to the ribbon. So as I click on my Recent here, you'll notice that it is showing the most recent tasks that I have accessed in Sage. On the View tab, I can specify the number of tasks or recent to show. And I can also hide this option with this little arrow down here, show fewer buttons, that I can easily bring that back by clicking on the Show More button. There is a masked 1099 vendor taxpayer ID Social Security number feature in accounts payable. It'll take you into vendor maintenance. So the Social Security number or the vendor ID is now masked in vendor maintenance. It's also printed masked on the vendor listing with balances, and the vendor mailing labels. Only users with the appropriate security setup can view this information and access the option to print unmasked taxpayer Social Security checkbox. This checkbox is available based on the new security option, Enroll Maintenance, allow viewing, printing, and editing of highly sensitive 1099 information. And you can see here that the taxpayer ID is masked. There are improvements in invoice payment selection in AP. It now includes a checkbox to select your invoices for payment. I can simply check whichever invoices I want to include in this payment processing. And of course, you still have your option to select all invoices available as well. Okay, that's all I have for today. We're going to open up the session for any questions you may have.
I've got Garen's information up on the screen there, along with any technical support, or if you're interested in learning anything else, we've got that information up on the screen there. If you want to, not sure if you want to leave that up or if we need to head out for the next session.
That is
Thanks.
perfect. Thank you all. Yep. Any questions you all have? Thanks for attending and joining today.